Hello everyone, it's Kirk Mastin at Mastin Labs, and we've got a really special treat for you today. Hot on the heels of releasing the Kodak Everyday Pack for Capture One, we've had a lot of questions about what's the difference between Lightroom and Capture One, how do the presets work in Capture One, is the workflow the same, and a lot of other questions surrounding that. So today's live edit is going to be, the first part of it is going to be about some of those differences between the editing platforms for those that are not familiar with Capture One. And then we're going to go into just a normal live edit, but inside of the Capture One workspace. And I've got files from all different kinds of cameras. I've got some, we had some requests for Fuji files, like RAF files, so I've got a few of those. And these are all from the community. So let's get started. I'm going to cough real quick. Okay, we'll just bleep that out. Okay, so to get started, so Capture One is essentially another editing platform. So there's Adobe, and they make Lightroom and Photoshop, which most people are familiar with. And then Capture One comes from Europe. It's another program. It's been around for quite a long time. They're on version 12 now. And it's been primarily used by magazine and editorial photographers that wanted to tether and shoot and have like an art director see what they're doing. It's got really nice tethering capabilities. Most of us... Okay, so here is the Capture One editing environment. A lot of it is going to be very familiar to people coming from Lightroom, but there are some things that are really unique. First thing is this workspace can be totally customized. This is the default workspace with our workspace that you get with the Everyday Pack loaded into it. So it's divided into these tabs here. So there's kind of your library tab, your camera. This is kind of for tethering, this section. I don't ever really use it. This section's got lens correction, cropping, some keystoning stuff. And then we've got the white balance and kind of the basic color adjustments. And then from there we've got layers, exposure, dynamic range. Anyway, each of these tabs has a few different tools. It's just a way of dividing up all the tools that come with Capture One. One thing that we did right off the bat is we felt that, or I felt like one of the biggest hurdles going to Capture One is that it felt a little overwhelming. There are so many tools, so many things that you can do. So one of the first things we did when we created the Everyday Pack is that we made a custom workspace for Mastin Labs users that you can load into Capture One that has everything that you need and nothing that you don't need to give you the editing environment to do really nice, film accurate edits. And this is a great way to ease your way into Capture One. And what's nice is that once you've loaded this, let's see, how many tabs is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 10 initial tabs, and then you load this Mastin Labs environment. It's a circle with like a 1 around it. I'll show you up in the corner here. Once you load that, you've got your histogram, exposure settings, high dynamic range. So this kind of takes the place of the tone section in Lightroom, where you had like whites, blacks, and highlight and shadow recovery. Then you've got a white balance section. I added keystone in here because I do a lot of image correction. Correcting like verticals and things to make the image like not distorted, to make it flat, like with architecture. It has nothing to do with Mastin Labs exactly, but I use it so much that I included it in our workspace because I encourage you to use it when you can. And then under that, we've got styles and presets. And when I talk about Capture One, we're going to talk about all of our film looks as styles. So in Lightroom, they're called presets. In Capture One, they're called styles. So if you hear me use the word style, I'm referring to what you would consider a preset. And those all live in here under user styles. So there you can see the Mastin Labs Kodak Everyday Original style. So the way that you would work in Capture One, let me just get something with that's really big and easy to see. Okay, so we've got this really nice image here by Lauren Gripka. This is a Canon image. So I'm going to edit this in both Lightroom or in Capture One and in Lightroom so you can see kind of the workflow. But essentially the workflow is the same, especially if you use our workspace. So I'm going to apply Kodak Gold 200. And then from there, I'm going to just adjust exposure and white balance as needed, and then add a tone profile if I need one. So right off the bat, I'm going to do all soft. This is a really popular way of using our looks, is by using all soft. It kind of softens the highlights and the shadows. So I applied Gold 200, all soft, and then I'm going to play with exposure to get what I want out of this. So this is Kodak Gold. It's got a little bit of green in it, in the shadows, but it's got a really nice warm tone. And I'm actually going to decrease the exposure just a tiny bit and warm it up. Whoop, a little too far. Okay, there we go. And from there, I can do lens correction if I want. And that takes away the vignetting and distortion in the image. And then I can add grain to the image. So I'm going to go ahead and add medium or 35mm grain. So that's a really basic edit. As you can see, if you're familiar with Lightroom and how our presets in Lightroom are used, it's the exact same workflow. And it's the exact same layout. It's just that the tools are on the left side of the screen instead of the right. So I'm going to switch over to Lightroom, find the same image, and go through the same edit again. So instead of all the tools being on one side, like in a row, Lightroom has them split up. You've got all of your major tools that you work with on the right, and then on the left you've got all of your presets. So I'm going to go to Kodak Everyday Original, do Gold 200, apply it. I'm going to then do all soft like I did before. I'm basically going to copy the exact same edit, and then I'm going to do lens correction on, and then I'm going to do 35mm grain. There we go. It took a little while for Lightroom to process that. So let's switch back and forth between the edits. So this is Lightroom, and then here's Capture One. The edits are going to be nearly identical. When I say nearly identical, that's because Capture One's rendering engine and Lightroom's raw rendering engine is different. They're different. So Capture One and Lightroom will take a raw file, and the initial processing of that image in each program will look a little different. I've found in general that Capture One processes raw images a little bit brighter, and also with more color detail and richness in the shadows, particularly in the shadows and like the lower mid-tone area. So there's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's like a little more saturation, a little more color detail in those areas of the photo. It's not a big difference. It's not like you're going to be like, oh my God, it's a whole new image because it's processed in Capture One's raw engine. But it is a slightly different starting point, which is what made it so hard initially for me to make everything for Capture One, is that I thought I could just take what I'd done in Lightroom and just port it straight over, but I actually had to start over with the same test images and the same data and plus new data, and start over and build new models for Capture One. So thank you for being patient. We've had people for years asking us to go Capture One. It was a lot of work, which is also why it's not a free upgrade to our Lightroom users. It took a couple years. It was very, very difficult but now we're in the swing of it, and we had a question, will you be supporting Capture One fully in the future if I decide to move over? The answer is yes. We are slowly getting all of our preset packs moved over to Capture One and to be made as a Capture One style. So, as you can see, even from my Facebook feed, there was a picture of my monitor, my desk, and you could see that I was working in Capture One on a yet unreleased preset pack, or style pack for Capture One. So they are coming. Okay, so we're still in the first half of this whole thing, and I'm gonna just go over what are some of the main differences between Lightroom and Capture One from my own experience developing for Capture One. And I've had years of experience in both now, and this is like all I do is work on presets and styles. It's kind of insane. So I can tell you my observations. So right off the bat, in a very broad sense, the way I feel is Lightroom still has the advantage when it comes to managing a lot of images. Kind of. I'm gonna put an asterisk by that. Oh, come on. Okay. I just find the interface. I'll show you. I just find that this interface, maybe it's because I'm used to it. It's just really easy to work with. I can edit one image and apply it to a bunch of other images really quickly, and get through a wedding or portrait session really fast. The asterisks, that being said, the other half of that advantage though goes to Capture One, because Capture One is just hella fast. It's just faster to render, to get through stuff quickly. Like it is just fast. It doesn't hang up on me like Lightroom can. It's a little funky to get used to how the library looks. Like, I've got an image open here and I'm pulling from the side and seeing my library. That takes a little while to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's not bad. But I do appreciate overall the speed of Capture One. So, I don't know. Not that I want to use a point system, but I would give Lightroom a point for how it organizes its library. It just seems more intuitive to me this way. It's just easier to look at. I don't know why right now. And then I would give a big point to Capture One for just being really snappy. Like it's fast. Everything is really fast. Now tool-wise, what are some of the big differences? Well, let me show you. Let's see, what's a good example? I don't know. We'll take this image. This is by Luis. I can't even see. Let's see here. Luis Sanchez Martin. Thank you for sending it in. I'll give you an example of kind of a difference here. So, say you apply Kodak Gold or Ektar. I'm going to do a quick edit. So I applied that Kodak Gold. I'm going to just bring the exposure down. It's a little crazy. And I'm going to adjust temperature and tint. So it's a little bit green. So I'm going to go up in magenta. Still a little green, still a little green. Okay, there we go. I'm going to do lens correction. Okay, that once I got rid of the vignetting, it's like way overexposed. Okay, bring it down. And maybe a little bit more in magenta. And all soft. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. We have our basic edit. Now, here is where Capture One really deviates from the Lightroom experience. So, in addition to what we have in the Mastin Labs workspace, you can right-click in this workspace and add a tool. And as you can see, there's like a million tools. There's got to be 50 tools here for different things, which is why we left most of them out for our workspace so that you don't get overwhelmed. But what's really cool, and what I think is kind of the big thing about Capture One, is the color editor. Here's what's really cool. So say I wanted to just adjust her dress. I can take this little eyedropper tool and click somewhere on the photo and select that area. So let's see here. So now I just clicked on her dress. I can do view selected color range. And what it does is it shows me what is selected in the image. So right now you can see that her dress is mostly selected. A little bit of her face is selected, a little bit of her hair, and these poppies or whatever they are in the background. So what I can do is I can actually fine tune that selection by rotating around this color wheel here and just select her dress. It looks really complicated, this color wheel thing, what I'm doing, but it's not once you get used to it. But basically, I've selected this part of the color wheel, and then I can hold on to these handles and I can make my selection bigger to include like her skin, or I can make it smaller to like really kind of hone in on just her dress. And once you have something selected, you take the mask off, and now I've got this color patch that I can do anything with. So I can change the color of her dress. I can change the lightness of it. Whoa, okay, that was a little extreme. Yeah, and the hue, whatever I want to do. I mean, this would be terrible, but I could make it like black and white. I would just do some very slight adjustment. That always looks better. Just because you have a powerful tool doesn't mean you should just like go crazy with it. But I appreciate the ability to select different color zones and play with them. In fact, there's even a skin tone section where you can select, a skin tone, and then you can work within that if you want to adjust skin tone. So that is huge. And you can also take any of the tools and pull them out and just float them over your workspace wherever you want. That's a big difference in Capture One, a huge difference. And then the other kind of little nitpicky difference is, well, there's many differences, is that you can control grain at a very granular level. There's like different grain shapes, different random generated grain patterns that to me is something I've been wanting for years, and I appreciate that about Capture One. So the trade-off is between Capture One and Lightroom is you have a lot of control. That can be good or bad. You could, like I tell people not to get lost in the weeds over here in Lightroom with hue, saturation, luminance. Let me show you. What photo was I working on? Where is it? I'm blind. I can't find it. Whatever. The point being, you can get lost in the hue, saturation, luminance stuff over here. And I tell people not to mess with that. I mean, you can get lost even further in the Capture One section if you start making a lot of like color patches. So I selected her dress, maybe I do one for the tree, I do one for this little river back here, and now I am, slowly pulling this image apart, and I've almost got too many things I can do. So we want to keep you on the rails. In general, don't play with the color editor until you've mastered the basic workspace, but it is a really neat tool. And it actually allowed me to fine-tune the presets a little bit more than I could in Lightroom, because in Lightroom I am not stuck, but I mean, they've got very discrete color channels. Hue, saturation, luminance is all like right here in just a few channels. And in Capture One, I have an infinite number of channels I can work in. I can just select them and refine them. Okay. How's that so far? A lot of differences, similarities. I gotta say though, I am used to Lightroom, so I enjoy both. I feel that the Lightroom interface is very refined. It's easy to look at, and I appreciate that. However, the more I use Capture One, the more I'm finding as a color editor, essentially, how useful these color controls are. Yeah, both platforms are good. No matter what you're on, they're good. We're bringing everything over to Capture One as well. So if you're in Capture One, be excited. We have a few questions that Kyle, our community manager, passed on to me from you guys. So I'll just go through them real quick and then we'll edit in Capture One. First question, what is Capture One? Are Lightroom and Capture One the same? I just showed you they can be the same. You can work the same way in both of them, but they are fundamentally different in how they render color at a very basic raw level, and they're different in how they handle color in the tools section. Those are the main differences. And Capture One is faster, and it's just flat out faster. But Lightroom has, I think, still the edge in terms of organizing a lot of images. So if you're like a high volume shooter, Lightroom is still really great for that. Okay, another question is, I bought Mastin presets for Lightroom. Do I need to purchase the pack again to use in Capture One? Yes, you do. So when I released it, there were some people saying they should be free to current Lightroom users. And as much as I would love to just make them free, they took a completely different development path. They were very difficult. It took the full resources of everybody here to even figure out where to start with this new rendering engine and to get everything going. So no, they're not free for current Lightroom users. But I promise that no matter what platform you're on, you will get a lot of value out of them. And it won't even be a big concern over time, I promise. Okay, will my Lightroom presets work if I do not have Capture One? So if you bought them for Lightroom, so on the website now you can buy them for Lightroom or Capture One. If you bought them for the correct platform, of course they will work. So if you buy them for Capture One, as long as you have Capture One version 11, they will work. 12 is the current version that's out right now. And if you have Lightroom, I think from Lightroom 4 on, everything works except for the Everyday Pack, which needs Lightroom 7.3 or newer. Let's see, one other thing here. Workflow is the same. So in general, you want to apply the film preset, then you want to go down to, and then you want to do basic exposure, white balance, tint corrections. Then you want to use a tone profile if you need one. Then there's lens correction, grain, and so on. Exact same workflow, no difference. So if you are already comfortable with using Mastin Labs in Lightroom, if for any reason you switch to Capture One, the learning curve is 0 when it comes to editing. It's exactly the same. Let's see, any other questions here? Oh, the workspace I showed you, it's just something that you download currently from our help section. After you've purchased, you'll be pointed to this section where it shows you where to get that file and how to install it. At this time, we do not have a self-installer for the workspace, but it is super easy to install, and we are working on packaging everything into a single installer at some point in the future. But you'll get it. It's not hard to do. Okay, so those are all our questions, and now I'm just going to do a bunch of edits in Capture One. And if you guys have any questions about anything, let me know. I'm going to be editing in the Everyday Pack because that's the only pack that's out for Capture One right now. And yeah, I'll just kind of whip through these. So this is by Abul Gracious Photographer, Abul Shah. Okay, cool. He's like a newer community member. I really like his work. So let's get started here. All right, so this is from Abul. It's a really cool mirror reflection shot. I'm going to go into the Mastin Labs workspace here, go down to, I'm going to remove the color editor. I'm going to go into the styles and presets. I'm going to do Kodak Gold 200. And then I'm going to use, let me see, I think all soft. And I'm going to do a slight exposure increase here. I mean, it depends on the look you want. If you want kind of a dark and moody look, you would go, maybe the other way, like darker. I like to have a little bit of detail in the background. And then I'm going to go a little bit more towards magenta. And yeah, I think that looks great. Let's see what lens correction would do. All right, lens correction like totally takes away the mood of this image. So I'm gonna say no on lens correction. I'm gonna leave it as it is. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just rotate the image just a little bit. It's a little bit cockeyed. I know there's probably a better word for that. There we go. And then I'm going to crop it. I like the aspect ratio, so I think I'm going to leave that. And I'm basically, I don't know, it's meant to be a very symmetrical picture, so I'm going to try to make it a little more symmetrical. So I'm just cropping in from the bottom. I think that's probably what Abul was going to do with the edit anyway. I don't know, I can't speak for him, but that's what I would do. So there you go. There is your edit, and I'll show you the before and after. So that's before, and this is after with gold 200 and all soft and no lens correction. I'm going to actually add medium format grain just to finish it off. Yes, that looks so good. Looks really good. I wish you could at home could see the grain like I can. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit so you can see it. But I really, really enjoy it. I think it's really good. I'll give it my best shot here to show you the grain. We need like 8K resolution for Facebook or something. Then you could like really, really see it. So I'm zoomed in 300%. So this is like closer than the actual pixels on this image. Here's 100%, and you can kind of see the grain. And it looks really, really damn awesome. I'm really excited about grain in Capture One. It's fantastic. So back in the day, back when all these young whippersnappers, or no, pre-whippersnapper photographers were shooting, like myself, what we used to do is we would edit in Lightroom, export a TIFF or a JPEG, and then import it back into this program called Alien Skin just to get the grain. And Casey's like nodding his head. Yeah, because the grain was like actually organic and random and looked correct. And it's so nice to have that all back in again in inside of one program. So we have that right now. I think it's really cool. Okay, so moving on. Thank you, Abul, for sending this image. It's really cool. Okay, so let's go to this image. This is by Courtney Delano. This is a Nikon image. And man, I really wish I had Fuji 400H for this image. That's what it calls out to me to use. But we will use Ektar Gold. So let's see here. Which one do I like better? I think we're going to do Ektar. I'm going to increase the exposure just a tiny bit, decrease the temperature a little. And I'm going to go actually towards magenta just a tiny bit. And increase the exposure just a little bit more. I'm kind of like, without realizing it, trying to edit it as though it was Fuji 400H because it feels like that type of image, but it's not. But still, you can get a really nice look with Ektar, which is a much, it has a lot more color and contrast than Fuji 400H in general. Okay, what is bouncing down here? Okay, so let's do all soft on top of that. And let's see, lens correction on. Yeah, let's do that. Lens correction on, and then 35mm grain. There you go. That looks really good. It looks so nice, so nice. I'm going to reset it real quick so you can see the before and after. So this is the final edit, and then I'm going to reset it back to before. Let it hang here for a second for those at home, and then we're going to go back again to the final edit. There you go. I'll make this thing stop bouncing. Okay. All right, so thank you so much, Courtney, for sending this in. It's a beautiful image. I really like it, so thank you. All right, so this comes from Jen Scott. It's nice to show some things that are not wedding as well, so I tried to find a few things that were submitted, and this is a really nice image. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to rotate this image just because I just can't work on an image that is crooked at all. Drives me nuts. There we go. Much better. And then I'm going to do, let's see, I think this is a very fun, lively photo. So we're going to use Ektar, which is our brightest, most colorful preset. Style, I mean. Style. And I'm going to use all soft. And then I'm going to increase the temperature a little bit with Kelvin. And there's a bit, it might be hard to see at home, but there's a bit of a green ground reflection coming off of the grass below them, especially on the boy on the left, on his left side. There's green coming off the grass and bouncing up like into his cheek right here. I'll show you. So like right in here, it might be hard to see, but I can see it. It's very subtle. So I'm going to just increase the tint just a little bit towards magenta. There, perfect. And then I'm going to bring the exposure down just a hair. And even with all soft, it's still a little bit hot right here. I can check. So here's a tool that you can see, or that you can check out in Capture One. There's a little, it looks like a little like traffic sign thing in the corner. It's like a little triangle. You click that and it will show you what is blowing out, like what is pure white. So as I thought, like the right side of this little boy's face is pure white. And what you can do is just leave that tool on, go to the high dynamic range panel, which is something that we don't have in Lightroom exactly. So we've got the tone panel in Lightroom, which does the same thing but in a different way. And then in Capture One, we've got high dynamic range. So I'm just going to go to highlights and just pull that up until I have recovered some of his face. And I think there's a very real possibility that there's part of his face where there's no image data at all. It was so overexposed that there's nothing on the sensor. But I've recovered a portion of his face and a portion of the rest of the photo by pulling up on the highlight slider in dynamic range. So if I go back down to the beginning, it was more like about here, and I'm just pulling it way up here to kind of recover his face. So yeah, simple. I am hardly doing anything in the edit. It's very, very simple edits, but they look really good. So this is with Ektar. I'm going to do before and after again. So that's before, and that is after. All right, let's see here. Let's go to, this is a really nice image. Okay, so this is by Martin Grigier, I don't know if I'm saying that right, from Poland. And he requested Kodak Gold 200. So let's do that. So there's Gold 200, looks fantastic. So that was really easy. That's a single click edit. There's nothing I can do to make it better. So thank you, Martin, for that. That was nice. Actually, I'm gonna do one thing. I really am not a fan of 35mm frames like this aspect ratio vertical. I think they're too tall. So I'm just going to crop it to 4:5, which is a medium format frame. I talk about it in like every live edit that I do, but I feel it's the most pleasing. It's the same size that you would have if you were shooting for a magazine. So we'll do that really quick. Why do I like this format? It's because subconsciously when we see an image that is this shape, it is the same shape as a magazine cover. Do we have any magazines in the office anywhere? No. Okay. You'll just have to take my word for it, but it is the exact same shape as your average magazine, and I find that it just has this effect that it makes it just feel more professional. Like I could totally see there being text or copy overhead in this on a magazine rack. So anyway, that is the only thing I would do to this image, because otherwise it was perfect in just one click. Okay, let's see here. Let's go to so we've had a lot of people ask about Fuji files. So how do Fuji files handle in Capture One, or what do they look like? A lot of people ask this because the rendering for Fuji files, like for some reason you get kind of they call it like kind of a wormy look. It doesn't render the detail very well in Lightroom. I don't know why, it's just kind of a glitch. That's not the case in Capture One. They seem to render really nicely. So I have a few kind of random Fuji files that I've pulled up, and I can show you how it looks. It's going to be kind of hard to see through your screen, but maybe you'll get a sense of it. So this is by Ricardo Aguiar. Looks like it's from Greece or something maybe. And I'm going to just do Ektar on it. So there's Ektar. I'm going to do all soft just to kind of make the sky chill out a little bit. And as you can see, just in like 2 clicks, it just has fantastic color. If I zoom all the way in, I'll go to 300. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to go to 300% because I'm crazy. If I go to 300%, my friends, the rendering is just smooth. I mean, we're getting a little pixelation here because I'm 3 times past the maximum like zoom ratio here, but it's still amazing. If I zoom out to 100, it's just perfect. Like the sharpness and detail in these Fuji files is fantastic. I really love it. And as you can see, the color is really good too. Highlight retention, everything. So, oh, this is definitely Greece. It says Marathonese Zykthos. Ha! Anyway, it sounds Greek to me. So, yes, we have a question in the back.
Yeah, you have Mastin, I think is his name, or Marcin.
Marcin.
He would like to see this edited in Lightroom, if possible as well.
Oh, the same image? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Marcin is asking if he can see this image edited in Lightroom as well. So presumably to see the difference in rendering for Fuji files in both. Okay, got it. So what did I do here? I did Ektar and all soft, and that's it. Okay. All right, here's the same file. We're going to do Ektar. All soft, and zoom in. I'll try to get the same amount of zoom. So this is 100% zoom. Maybe I can go further. Let's see. So 3:1 would be 300%, right, Casey? Yes. Okay. Okay. Oh man, yeah. Okay. You can totally see the rendering thing that people talk about. So granted, I'm at 300% zoom, but I'll show you what I mean. Oh, come on. So if I can get to the same exact crop. Close enough. Okay, so where I notice it, so this is in Lightroom. If I look at this woman's face back here, and like where her hair transitions to the ocean, it does look like little worms. Hence why people say it's wormy. And like the little swirly bits around this ice cream sign, so they've got these little drawings, little ice creams, like in this blue area, it's kind of grooved and weird looking. If I go to Capture One, it's kind of hard to see on your screen, but there is no worminess at all on this woman's face back here. And there's also no kind of weirdness of her hair going into the ocean, like where it transitions into the ocean. Also, this little area, if you look between his fingers, like at the skin in there, it's, see if I can, oh, come on. It's kind of hard to switch back and forth and have the same keys pressed, and it does something totally different, so bear with me. Okay, so this is Lightroom, and then this is Capture One. Yeah, so it's slightly less wormy. I'll go to 100%, because I mean, who actually looks at their images at 300%? No, like nobody. But there are people where that's important, I guess. So this is Lightroom, and then this is Capture One. Not like an earth-shattering change, but I can tell you that there is a difference in just like at the finest level, how the file is rendered, and I do believe the Capture One renders it nicer, a little bit nicer. And also the richness of the color, like, it's hard to explain, but like right, if you look at like his face and his hand, like right in this area, this is in Capture One. I'll go back to Lightroom. If I go to the same spot, the colors and everything are the same, but there's just like this little bit of a rich glow like around the edge of his fingers and his arm that I don't have unless I'm in Capture One, like right here. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. We're like splitting hairs into hairs here, but that is the difference. So I hope that answers Marston's question, if that helps. So everyone is so curious. Here's another raw file from a Fuji camera. Let's see what kind of camera it is. It is a... Oh, where is it? Oh yeah, base characteristics. Okay, this is from a Fujifilm X100S. Yep. Okay, so let me do an edit of this real quick. We'll do, ooh, that black and white looked really cool. We'll just do it in, let's do it in Ektar again. I'm going to rotate this image. Let's see, right about, that's a little too far. Right about there. So that's Ektar. Let's see, should we do all soft? Yeah, let's do all soft. It nicely preserves the highlight detail in the side of the cliff here and the shadow detail over here where these two little boats are. And then I'm going to increase the temperature just a bit. And I'm going to slide the tint slider towards green. No, too far. Maybe like right about there. There we go. And I'm going to show you the before and after of this one too. So I know for sure this is Greece. It has to be Greece. I feel like I've seen that little boat somewhere before. This is before, and that is after. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's see here. A little bit different lighting. We've done one inside. This is really kind of traditional wedding image, so let's do this one next. I'm gonna do Tri-X on this actually. So this is by Rika King. So there's Tri-X, and I'm going to just drop the exposure a little bit. Maybe to about here. Yes. Oh man. The grain just kills me. It's so good. I'll crop this to 4:645 again. Maybe right about there. There we go. And let's see how it will look with all hard. All soft. Ooh, all soft, definitely. All right, cool. All right, so let's zoom to 100%, and I can kind of show you the grain again, because I'm a grain fiend. Okay, so one thing that I'm really impressed with Capture One, again, in the grain, is not only the size of the grain, like the different shapes of the grain itself, and how it's distributed very randomly. It doesn't look like bubbles. I'm also impressed at how the grain has different amounts depending on what the tone is underneath of it. So that's actually how real black and white film works. The amount of grain, like visible grain, changes depending on how light or dark the tone is that you're looking at on the photo. And you can see that in this image. Like the transitions in the windowsills here, where it goes from really, really dark to really light, it's just like perfect. I mean, the grain is just so good. I will show you this in Lightroom so you can kind of see a little bit of a difference. I'm trying to find like differences, like meaningful differences between the two programs, because they're very, very similar. But I think this is a meaningful difference. So if I do Tri-X, bring the exposure down, I'll try to get it almost the same. All soft. Let's see how close I got that to being like the other one. Whoops, okay. Okay, so I got to crop into about there. All right, let's do that. Oh, whoa, too far. Okay. How about 100%? There we go. Is that about the same? Yeah, that's pretty close. Okay, all right. Now we're ready to look at grain. So, yeah, man. Maybe we should post this in the comments, like a side-by-side. I don't know, for people to see. Might be easier. Let's do that. Okay, so yeah, you can see the grain here, and then in Lightroom, I'll try to get that a little bit closer. But in Lightroom, the grain is like completely the same across the entire image. So whether you're looking at the white of his shirt, or in the darkest part of the building behind them, or in his hair, or on her skin, the grain pattern is like, the grain amount and pattern is the same. Whereas in Capture One, the grain builds up organically where it should build up. So if you're really into black and white, there's a big difference there. Okay, let's see. Do we have any questions as we're going? No questions? Unbelievable. Okay. It's fine, it makes it faster, I guess, so. Okay, this is from Vitalina Paraverzeva. Thank you for sending this in. This looks like a really beautiful place. And you also sent this in too, which I think looks really nice. I don't know, I love both of them. Let's just start with this one. So that's Ektar 100, just straight up applied. Looks fantastic. I might warm it up just a little bit. Yeah, about there, and maybe a little bit more magenta. Just a tiny touch. And let's see what it looks like with the lens correction on. I kind of like the vignetting on this one, so I'm going to leave that one off. I'm going to leave the vignetting off, and leave the lens correction off. And then I'm going to do, yes, you guessed it, the crop that I always do, that I prefer. I just feel it looks better, classier. And there you go. Super easy edit, piece of cake. And as you can see, it handled the transition between the super bright sky and them, like their skin and the foreground and the rock, like really nicely, just like film would. There's no giant like gap of image information where it's either like pure white and there's no detail, or like just all blocked up. This is just beautiful and well-defined and really pops out, and it just has a film feel to it, which I love. I'm so glad that we live in a day and age where you can actually get a real film feeling with a digital image in an editor. I mean, it's really only very recently that this was possible. Like the rendering engines were not capable of it, you know, until the last like 3 years, maybe 4 years, right about the time that Mastin started. Or we started, let's see, 2013, yeah, 6 years ago. So yeah, we live in an amazing time. So this is the after, and this is before. And I'll go back one more time here. There we go. Looking good, looking real good. Let's see. Got some buildings. This could be a fun one, actually. Okay, so this is a Fuji file. It's by Victor Wagman, and it's with an XT1. And I don't know how this is going to look. It's, you know, it has no people in it, but it should look really good. And this is a great image to show you how to do perspective correction, because it's all kinds of crazy perspective down here. So I'm going to do, I don't know. Let's do Ektar on this one. Okay, so Ektar, increase the exposure. I'm going to increase the temperature. It's a really super cool image. Maybe a little tiny bit more. I find if you get the color balance just right, you get this really nice contrast in dark and warm tones. And this goes for any image. So if you get the color balance just right, it's not necessarily contrast, it's just contrast in warmth and cold colors in your image. So by increasing the temperature, we've got a really nice distinction now between the buildings and the sky by getting it just dialed in just perfectly. So now I'm going to use the keystoning tool here. And when I press it, you'll see a bunch of like these 4 dots pop up. And I feel like it actually just did a correction just by me selecting that. But what you do is you find a few points on the screen where you know the lines are straight. So I'm going to find this building over here. And as you can see, I pulled those dots down to get a straight line on that building. And now I'm going to do the same with this building over here. I'm going to cross all my fingers and my toes and hope that it makes this perfectly corrected. This is kind of a crazy image to correct. Okay, it did. Okay, it's hard to see because it had to turn it so much. I don't know if I can get a crop where I can show you, but I'll do my best. Wow, okay, it was an extremely wonky image. Not that that's bad. Let's do unconstrained, and I'm going to give you as much of this image as I can. Okay, it is angry at me. Okay. Yes, we have a question.
Yeah, Larry says, I love the concept of getting the film look with digital, but I have to ask, why not just shoot film to get the film look?
Okay, so Larry asks, he loves the concept of getting a film look in digital, but why not just shoot film? I couldn't agree more. I am 100% for film. In fact, we offer a lot of courses on how to shoot film. If you Google the world's easiest film course, you will find us, and it's a free course that you can subscribe to and learn how to shoot film. In fact, you will successfully learn how to shoot film. You'll get your first roll perfect, like zero room for error if you just do the first lesson. It couldn't be easier. So yes, we're 100% for film. And my goal with Mastin Labs is that this is the gateway drug to shooting film. Film seems inaccessible to a lot of people and really complicated and really expensive, and it's none of those things. So yes, it costs money to shoot film, but how much is your art worth to you? And I feel like shooting on film, I shoot better, I shoot a little more focused, and I'm able to visualize what I'm shooting better, and I have more keepers. A digital camera is not free. A really nice digital camera, could cost you $2,000 to $5,000, and that's a lot of film. So it depends on what you're doing, like different courses for different horses, or whatever they say. Depends on what you want to do. I recommend everyone to try to find an old film camera that's in your family, a 35mm camera, buy some film, and start shooting, and take our free course. Or not, do whatever you want, but just start shooting film. So that's my answer. Yeah, both are good. Question?
Yeah, is there any Sony files, any ARW files in there that we picked?
Oh, okay, so we have a viewer wanting to see a Sony edit. Yeah, I'll see what I got. Let's get back to Victor's shot here, and I can show you the before and after correcting it, and being on the struggle bus there for a minute trying to get the crop how I wanted. But yeah, as you can see, it is like totally corrected now. It looks really, really good, and I'll show you the before and after. So that's before, and that is after with Ektar. Okay, so we've got time for 1 or 2 more edits. I'm gonna look for a Sony file. Here we go. For one of our viewers, who I don't know the name of, but I appreciate your question. See if I got any more Sony files that I can do right after this one. All right, that's Nikon, Canon. All right, well, in this batch that I got from the community, we have a whopping single Sony file. So this is what we got. Was there any requests as to what preset? None? Okay. Let's do Ektar. This image, I mean, even before I applied anything, to my eye is super green and overexposed, so that's kind of what I'm going to be dealing with as soon as I apply it. So this is Ektar. I'm going to drop the exposure a little bit, and let's make that smaller. And then I'm going to use the tint slider to go towards magenta. And now I'm starting to realize that the image is like way too warm. How do I know this? Well, if you look at the bottom down here where the sidewalk is and this cute little dog, they're like glowing yellow. So it's way too warm, and I'm going to drop the temperature down. There we go. And as I said just like 10 minutes ago, if you get the color balance just right, you not only get things to look good, but you actually get a lot of separation in the photo between warm and cool colors. And you could see it as I pulled the Kelvin slider down to a cooler temperature. Like the whole image just kind of snapped into focus almost, just based solely on global color. So that's with Ektar, looks really nice. I'm going to actually go a little bit more magenta. And I'm just sliding it really slowly. I'm looking at her sweater and the sidewalk down here to know when I've gone too far towards magenta. I want those to be pretty neutral. All right, so there you go. There's your edit with Ektar, and I'm going to just reset it real quick. So this is before, and that is after with Ektar. Looks really good, looks super good. And that is a Sony file. I can't stress this enough. If for those that are watching in our community, if you want to see a certain type of image edited, you need to submit it. So if there's a certain type of wedding, a certain type of skin tone, a certain type of camera or file, you need to submit it. Because all I have to work from is what's been submitted like the last week when we post the event. So please submit your images. I'll try to get to as many as I can. And as you can see, I just kind of randomly pick stuff. Yeah, and it's all fun. It's really fun. Okay, I'm gonna do a few more. Casey says I only have 5 minutes left, but I'm gonna do like just a bunch of quick edits and talk you through it so you can see. Again, we're in Capture One here. Same workflow as Lightroom. All right, so this is by Kevin Dinkle. This looks cool. It reminds me of the Palouse in Washington State, which is Washington's like desert area. We're not all like rain all the time, I promise you. All right, there we go. Here's Ektar 100. Looks good. Boom, easy, as Emerald would say, just boom, bam. No, this is bam. Okay, so that's Ektar, increase the exposure a little bit. I'm gonna do highlight soft, just highlight soft, not all soft. I like the deep blacks in the rocks. And I'm going to go a little bit magenta, just a tiny bit. And maybe down in exposure. Yeah, and down in temperature. Yeah, that looks really good. It looks so good. Okay, show you the before and after. So that's before, and that is after with Ektar. This is from Kurtz or Pia. This is just a cool photo. It's just fun. Let's do, this is Kodak Gold 200. One click, and I'm gonna do all soft. And a little increase in exposure, just a tiny bit. And a little bit towards green instead of magenta. Perfect. Yeah, it looks awesome. Really nice. Again, I love how Capture One renders files. Like, it's hard to explain. It's like there's a lot of detail, but it doesn't look harsh. It just looks really nice. And this is at 200%. Why do I keep going to 200%? I think 100% is plenty. So yeah, it looks really good. So that is Kodak Gold. I'm gonna add 35mm grain because the grain is so nice. And then I'm gonna show you before and after. So this is after, obviously, and that is before and after. I did that really quick. Okay, I'll wait. This is before, and that's after. So thank you so much, Kurtz, for sending that in. Oh, look at this. Beautiful dog. I had to do it. All right, let's do Ektar on the little pupper. All right, there we go, boom. Ektar, the brightest, most colorful film and style that we do. But I love it. Every time I do a live edit, I'm always like, the new hotness in 2019 is Ektar. I swear to God. It's why we did the Everyday Pack first for both platforms. I feel like this is the sensation sweeping the nation. Color is back. People like color. All right, so there we go. That's a super easy edit. It took me like 5 seconds. This is before, and this is after. Let's do one more. We'll call it good. Unless we have anyone asking for anything in particular, we do.
I don't know if it's in there, but Otto was asking if you would mind doing Fuji file that's medium format, but I don't know if we had any that way.
Oh, like a GFX file? Who's asking?
It's Otto J. Maya.
Okay, so Otto is asking if we have any medium format Fuji files. We don't. I mean, I don't have any that were submitted by the community. So again, if you want to see those edited, send them in. And we're going to do more live edits. We do them every few weeks. So we're just responding to what the community wants. Yes?
Wayne wants to know, is there a general use between Ektar and Gold? Or situations where either will have more difficulty in editing?
What?
Between Ektar and Gold. Like,
Is one easier to use?
Yeah, I guess, or a general use case between the two.
Okay, all right. So we have a viewer asking, when would I use Ektar and when would I use Gold? And maybe what are they best for? So basically, Ektar is the highest saturation, highest kind of contrast film, like actual film, that exists in the world that you would shoot on a film camera. And that translates to being one of the highest saturation and contrast style or preset that we make. I think it's easy to use. I think the key to using it is understanding what it is and what it is not. It is not Fuji 400H. It is not the light, delicate, pastel, flowy tool dress. You know, I'm chilling in the desert with my camel and everything is like pastel. It is not that. It is not that. It is like a punch in the face of beautiful, bold color. It's alive, it's happy, it's fun. It's got a lot of orange in it, which you can tame with just using the temperature slider in Lightroom or the Kelvin slider in Capture One. Gold is if Ektar is like an 11 out of 10 of color, I'd say Gold is like about an 8, and Fuji would be like a 4 in terms of how saturated they are. The big difference between Ektar and Gold is that Gold is a little less saturated, and it's got this really cool look where it's more green in the shadows and midtones, and then the highlights are the opposite. They're like kind of red and warmer, and it's a really nice contrast. Whereas with Ektar, it's like across the board rich color. So Gold is a little more toned down, and it's got a gold look. It looks like gold. I mean, it was named Gold because it's kind of golden. Let's see here. See if I can show you an example. Oh yes, question.
Oh, good. Otto just mentioned that he did submit an image that is one. I don't know if that came through with all of the things that we had parsed through.
Maybe. I don't know. I just grabbed like 27 images out of whatever came in at it. You know, if it was submitted at the last minute, I didn't get it because we were getting everything ready, so I might have missed it. And if I did, I apologize, and I'll try to get it in the next one. Let's see if I can find something to show quickly the difference between Gold and an Ektar. Like, oh, this image, fine. This will work. So this is Ektar. It's like turned up to 11. If I go to Gold, you can see it kind of chilled out. You know, it's still really nice looking, but it doesn't have the boldness and the overall warmth of Ektar. So like if I zoom in down to this, like down here, so this little shadow under this bush here, so this is with Ektar, and if I go to Gold, it just kind of mellows out and it doesn't carry that warm and red kind of feeling. So this is Gold, that is Ektar, and that's Gold. So you can see it's just like turning the, I don't know, you're turning down the boldness with Gold. It's not a bad look though, it looks really nice. Depends on what you like. Like, whoa, that was crazy. Okay, so this is by Kairos, official. Let's see how Gold and Ektar look on this. So we'll start with Ektar. Just big, bold, colorful, warm. This is Ektar. I would actually decrease the temperature just a little bit. And As you can see, you can get just beautiful, perfect skin tones with Ektar if you understand what it is and what it is not. It is not Fuji 400H, but it is beautiful and it's its own kind of bold, colorful look. If I was to go to Gold 200, you can see it's like cranking it down. The background back here got a little bit cyan and green, and her skin remained warm but not so punchy. Both are really good looks. So hopefully that answers the question. I don't know. Yes. Okay. Cool. This is a really nice photo to end it on. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, please let us know. We're going to be in the group. We're going to be reposting this video in the Mastin Labs Facebook community. If you're not already a member of our Mastin Labs Facebook community, just join and we will approve you as soon as possible. You don't even need to own anything by Mastin Labs. You can just poke around. One thing that we encourage people to do if they're considering Mastin Labs is join the Facebook community and then post a RAW file from any kind of camera along with a JPEG showing what that image is going to be, just so people know. And you'll have a bunch of community members jump in, grab that RAW file out of your Dropbox link or however you send it, and edit it for you and put it back in that thread, and you'll be able to see how your image will look with different presets. So it's a really great way to kind of test drive everything. It's our way of like for you to get to know the community and see how your work will look. So highly recommend doing that. And we will have more live edits like this in the future. If there's anything you'd like to see, again, in our Facebook community, just let us know and we can do a themed show around it. So one that we might do in the near future is a all Fuji RAW file Capture One editing session, because we had a huge demand for that. So we're going to try to put that together. But also, if you want to see anything in Lightroom, like a themed show, just let us know and we will do that for you. So thanks so much, and yeah, hope you enjoyed it.